Check it out. It's the Laugh to Learn podcast. What is going on, everyone? Welcome to the Laugh to Learn podcast, your weekly source for a hoppin', poppin' comedic spin on all the goings-on in the world. My name is Jacob Paveo, as it has been each and every week, and I come to you from the Great White North on every single Tuesday evening, Eastern Standard Time, fresh for download to listen to at work on Wednesday morning for everyone, the entire world around. All that I ask you to do is hit the subscribe button. Set it to auto download. This way you can go to bed. You don't even have to think about the Laugh to Learn podcast, but when you wake up on Wednesday morning, there it is, ready to listen. You can listen to it in the car or on the bus or on the train or the plane, whatever, however you get to work. Maybe you're running, you're jogging, it's in your earphones. Listen to it on your way to work. If you don't want to do that, listen to it at lunch. If you don't want to do that, listen to it on the way home. Or if you have the opportunity, listen to it throughout the day. However you choose to listen, I thank you very much. And I encourage you to share the podcast. Tell people about it in person. Give it a share over on social media. And don't forget to give us a beautiful, a lovely, a gorgeous 5-star rating over on Apple Podcast, because that is great help to us. Every time you do that, it helps us show up a little bit higher in the searches so that I can suddenly and randomly surge like I have in past weeks in countries like South Africa, which was crazy. It was a crazy story. I literally woke up, looked at my downloads, and I was like, whoa. There's a ton of downloads in Africa. What the hell is going on? And I had a random 47 listeners show up out of nowhere in Africa, but they've all faded away. Now, probably because I don't talk about African politics, I talk about Canadian and American politics, and I would assume that people around the world don't find that too interesting. But we have a ton of cool stuff with the show, especially the conversation series L2L with. So last week I spoke with Adam the engineer, I spoke with Matej Parissa before that, and I'm working on some really, really exciting interviews, as I've mentioned 2 weeks ago. Next week, I'm going to be launching, we're doing a Sober October challenge, so I've managed to basically convince and imprison two buddies, and we are going to do it. There's no drinking, no smoking weed for an entire 4 weeks. And on top of that, we're going to be doing a little bit of a workout challenge. So if you guys want to do any of that along with us, let us know that you're in for it. We're going to be doing like a sort of a cardio challenge to see who can log the most high-intense cardio minutes. But we're going to work that all out on the podcast for next week. But yeah, it's going to be pretty awesome. I am looking to, get back into my beautiful, fit, Herculean shape. And so the next 4 weeks are going to be all about that. And so we're going to do 2 podcasts together. We're going to do one at the beginning of the month and one at the end. At the end of the month, I might do 2 podcasts in 1 week because I don't want to just take up all the time with the Sober October Challenge, but it's really exciting for us. If you do want to play along, I'm going to encourage you a whole lot next week to use the hashtag L2L Challenge. That's L with the number 2, L Challenge. And yeah, there's a few other conversations on top of that in the works. There's like 3 or 4. If you do something that you think is interesting that other people would be interested in, or if you have an opinion that you want to share, reach out to me, as always, over social media. My links for social media are always in the description for this episode, or you can reach me at the contact page over on www.laughtolearnpodcast.com. that's a fantastic way to reach out. And yeah, seriously, like anyone, anywhere in the world, just reach out because who knows what would happen. Maybe we would have a really good conversation out of it. And I really don't have any limits. There's not really anyone I wouldn't talk to, no matter how outlandish the conversation tends to be, because I think those are the most interesting, right? I don't want to just talk to people that agree with me, because then my life would be rather boring. This week on the podcast, I'm going to be talking about Trump and the Ukraine. Dun, dun, dun. I know, but we have to cover Trump. The other thing we have to cover is Justin Trudeau, so that's what I'm going to talk about first. There's no sense in beating around the bush. Ladies and gentlemen, this is going to be a fun episode, so as each and every week, let's get to it. There's really no sense in avoiding the topic, as I already alluded to, but I haven't recorded a single episode since the massive controversy surrounding my Prime Minister, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. For those who maybe don't know, maybe you are international or you don't really pay attention, maybe you live in Canada and you don't really pay attention to politics at all. The Prime Minister back in 2001 thought you could go black and go back. Or in this case, brown to be specific. I suppose he went brown and came back around. That's what he was hoping for. But 3 different images and videos came out showing Trudeau in a stage performance in blackface as a college student, and then later as an adult dressed in brownface at a party with other teachers from the school where he taught as a drama teacher. So 2 different instances, 3 images from those 2 instances came out. The brown face, there were 2 photos that appeared. The black face, we have a video. It's a whole controversy, as I'm sure everyone listening can already presume. There really isn't much else to this story, which makes it kind of difficult for anyone to cover, because it's black and white, really. But I wanted to take some time to go over the implications of this on the election, because first and foremost, there is no way this is new video. And this is something that I really wanted to start with, because it tells us a lot about the Conservative Party and where they were in 2015 compared to where they are now. Because what it shows me is that the Conservatives felt in 2015 like there was no chance for Harper to win, which is crazy because I wouldn't have thought that at the time. These would have surfaced back then if they thought it would have made a difference, but they instead waited until a few days after the second campaign began. That's when they chose to release them. So this shows me that the Conservative Party was actually aware of their weakness before, which I would have told you they probably weren't. And as I thought the party at the time, I thought they were somewhat naive, actually, to the growing support among seniors and youth of the Liberal Party 4 years ago. So to me, that was actually very eye-opening. I had that conversation with a friend the other day. It also shows me that the Conservative Party thinks they have a real shot at getting Trudeau out this time around. This is the sort of thing you can only use once, right? Like this sort of video, once you put it out there, if it doesn't work, it suddenly becomes a lot harder to go after his character. But that's what they've chosen to do. They've chosen to attack his character instead of his policy. It's a really strange, honestly, it's very strange, and we'll get to that in a second. But this is where the conversation gets interesting, because all of my friends who are Liberal voters or undecided swing voters have actually said they don't care about this. Now, this isn't like I haven't talked to 90% of the population, but I've talked to a fair number of people who were already not going to vote for him, that care about it, or that were going to vote for him or haven't decided yet, and those 2 types of people seem to not care about this. It basically, if there was a chance you would vote Liberal, that chance is still there. If there was no chance you were going to vote Liberal, that chance is still not there. So it doesn't seem to have moved the needle very much. Now, one video, of course, was playing a historical figure in a school play, and the other, as I mentioned, was a party. It was an Arabian Nights party in 2001. That's where he did brownface. Now, our current minister, of defense is a Sikh. So I have to ask, what else do you dress up as at an Arabian Nights party in 2001? And how can you call him a racist today? That is what everyone is saying, right? Because this is an Arabian Nights party from 2001, and you're playing a black historical figure in a school play. As of today's standards, was it right? No. But for 2001 and then the mid-90s, was it okay? Yes, you have to admit that it was. Also, literally, the second most powerful person in the country, the Minister of Defense, I guess third most powerful after the Governor General, is a Sikh. He hired a brown man who is a Sikh to be our Minister of Defense, who is more than qualified. I'm not saying that it was like a wrong choice. I'm actually quite happy with his choice for Minister of Defense, but you can't exactly call him a racist. Now, that's what everyone's talking about on the left and those in the middle. The other really crazy thing to come out of this is something that if you had told me this had happened, and I didn't know yet, I wouldn't have predicted this. But Jagmeet Singh officially lost my vote. I'm going to come out and say that he has officially lost my vote because I expected much better of him. I've seen, him react to racism in the past very, very well in a manner that I thought was exceptionally professional. It's a very difficult circumstance for someone in his position to be put in, especially as a politician, because you have to keep your wits about you and be professional, but still get the point across to still look good to your constituents or your potential constituents. But he lost my vote because he cried in front of reporters. Like, literally. And he said, quote, "I believe there are still good people in Canada." And he also said, quote, "I believe Canada is still good." End quote. I literally had to run outside and make sure bombs weren't going off. It was so fucking dramatic. It was pathetic. Like, pathetically dramatic. I legitimately thought Kanye was about to come take the mic from him and tell us Beyonce cries the best tears of all time. I swear to you. If that was his reaction to an old photo, how is he supposed to speak with Putin, Trump, Xi Jinping, Kim? You have to deal with all sorts of people as a world leader. And, there's no denying that, especially right now, Canada actually has a major part to play on the world stage. And it is not okay to fake cry to win votes. It's just not. Because that's exactly what that was. I live with a 5-year-old, and I can spot that bullshit from a mile away through a thick fog and some spray tan mist. What up, Mr. Trudeau? For real. I'm actually really disappointed in Singh. Because although I really never thought that I would vote NDP, it was definitely on my mind. And I thought he at least appeared as a competent and put-together leader. The type of person you wouldn't be embarrassed of when he got in front of a mic or, prepared to cringe or something like that. But all of that went out the window now. Literally, it was a midday soap opera. I watched. He went in front of the mic, once and then left and then came back and tried to, contain himself and then kept crying. It was so strange. He belongs on Young and the Restless. You do not belong in the Prime Minister's office. Sorry, you simply don't. There are so many people who would make better leaders than you, and you proved literally in an hour from something that should have made his campaign look so much better because he could have spun that so well, right? If he had the right people behind him, he would have been like, you know what? I forgive you. We need to learn from this. Canada as a nation can learn from this. We can build on this and grow. I accept your apology, Justin Trudeau, but we can never go back to the ways of the past. Canada's always moving forward. But no, like literally, I literally made that up on the spot. That I'm not reading off a script. That's what I would have done. I would have been like, look, this is what you're going to go out there and say. Instead, he pulls out the victim card, and it's like, dude, we're not here anymore. We're just not. Like, the Western world is not in a position anymore where you can garner support playing the victim. It's simply not going to work, especially with a lot of the global tensions right now. Like, I don't need someone winning office because people feel bad because of the color of your skin or what you choose to wear on your head. That's not going to qualify you for fuck all. It's just not. Sorry, but in my opinion, like, he is not ready. Not even not ready. He's not going to be ready. It's not going to happen. Or it really shouldn't happen. Now, the next question is, what does this mean for Trudeau? I guess it should have been the first question, but Jagmeet Singh really threw a wrench in all of this. But what does this mean for Prime Minister Trudeau? Well, he clearly can go black and come back. That's what this means. I know I used that joke twice, but what are you going to do about it? 42% of Canadians polled by Abacus said they weren't bothered, with 34% on top of that saying they didn't like it but accepted his apology. So that's 76% of people that this doesn't matter for. Now, just under 25% of people said that they were truly offended, but 2/3 of those 25% said that they were conservative. So basically, almost every single liberal who was polled doesn't care or says that it was wrong, but they accept his apology. Now, I also want to add that if this truly offends you, you really need to relax a little. If a prime minister's bad decision from like more than almost 20 years ago is what makes you lose sleep, you are the most white privileged honky this side of the border, and I don't care what your skin color is. This is not a big deal. And it has never been a big deal. Is it the right decision to make? No. Should he have known better? Yes. Is it in some way, shape, or form indicative of someone's politics? No. It's simply not. If you show me a video of someone from 2018, which is roughly 2017 when this became wrong to do, onwards, then yes, I completely agree with you. That person's fucked up. But what's his name? Ben Stiller was just dressed in blackface in a movie a couple of years ago, a comedy that everyone thought was funny. Like, literally has a fantastic rating on Rotten Tomatoes. And no one talked about blackface back then. That's like 5 years ago, okay? The world has changed a lot in 5 years. Forget about fucking 20 years. You have to get over this. If this is the sort of thing that bothers you, you are never, ever going to get your pair of big boy or big girl pants pulled up. And you need to learn how. Because, like, we can't help you. Is this wrong? As I said, yes. But is this like the end of the world? God, no. You're so naive if that's what you believe. Now, moving on to national polls, the Conservatives still hold the most national support at roughly 34.7%, with Liberals at 32.9%, and then the NDP were at like roughly 13%, and then you go way down from there for Green and Bloc and the People's Party of Canada, the PPC. Now, the interesting thing is that seat projections are crazy right now, and they're like so radically extreme. So the Liberals are posted to win somewhere between 98 and 210 seats, which is a crazy variance. So that's 166 seats to get a majority. So they actually are projected to maybe have a massive majority again. They're that competitive in so many areas. So they have a 26% chance of a majority and a 27% chance of a minority win. Now, on the flip side, the Conservatives are posted to have somewhere between 108 and 190 projected seats. So they're guaranteed a few more seats than the Liberals. And I use that word loosely, of course, because these are polls. That anything could happen. But we're saying they're going to for sure win 108. They may win as many as 190, which gives them a higher 32% chance of winning a majority because they have those guaranteed seats. But if they don't win a majority, they have a much lower 14% chance of winning a minority. So it's kind of crazy how things are working out right now. Basically, nothing has changed. Our prime minister pulled a Michael Jackson, and not the Michael Jackson that you're thinking of recently, but the old Michael Jackson controversy with the skin condition. You know what I mean. And seemingly he's made it out of the lion's den with everything intact. But I want to rant on this for a few minutes because, first of all, the Liberal Party right now is in repair mode. They canceled the foreign policy debate just today that was supposed to happen really soon. And essentially, they're trying to rebuild from this. They're trying to figure out what to do about it. But I have a feeling this might blow over. There's a chance that either the Liberals or the NDP have something against Scheer, that they're just kind of waiting for this news cycle to fade a little before they pull it out. The Liberals have been very quiet. That's what it looks like from my perspective. Also, I think this should have favored the NDP because really, by Trudeau looking bad, it should have, as I said, given Jagmeet Singh a real opportunity to push himself forward. This flop ended the NDP's campaign. Actually, they're the ones who have gone down the most in the polls since this all happened, and I just explained to you why. But I just want to it won't get off my mind how pathetic and just how dumb it was of him to not show compassion when faced with racism, because if you look around at stuff that's happened, right, that's what really drove the polls. What gave John McCain a real fighting chance against Obama? It was when a supporter at his event said to him that Obama is an Arab, and he took the mic from her and he said, no, he's not. He's a good man. Now, yes, there are good Arabs. That was probably not a great 2019 response, but in 2008, I think actually that was in 2007, that was a fantastic response, and it garnered him central votes who were like, oh yeah, this dude's not racist, he's really cool, just an old white guy who's a conservative. And that's what John McCain was. Now, Jagmeet Singh should have taken the high road like John McCain did. What this tells me is Jagmeet Singh ain't no John McCain. Not even close. He really flopped. Now, conservatives likely gained a few voters as this is something that they're attacking anyways. They gained very few voters from this. Because typically, if you talk to people, conservatives hate this social justice warrior movement. And conservatives chose to use it, the Conservative Party, I should say. I shouldn't blame voters, but the Conservative Party itself decided to use social justice against the left while simultaneously saying that social justice is wrong. That's a little fucked up. It's bad politics, actually, is what it is, because you never ever want to give ground. You never want to say to your opponent that they're right sometimes, and that's what they did. So I think they might get a few voters going conservative, but most conservatives should look at this and go like, yeah, it's really no big deal, and hopefully most liberals are learning that this isn't a big deal, although I don't think this has ever been a very big deal in Canada, and that's really important to note. We've never had these sort of problems here. It's been like, once you weren't allowed to do blackface, everyone just kind of stopped doing it. There's photos of Pamela Anderson, and who's Canadian, dressed in blackface that never came really forward. It was out there and it was like, oh yeah, she did that, but it was dumb. This is more of an American issue, and they're trying to make it a Canadian thing, saying that Canadian liberals believe this when they really don't. A lot of people have been using, when Trudeau corrected someone who said mankind, and he said it should be person-kind, or whatever the fuck he said, something stupid like that. And they're like, oh, look, he's corrected people for this, and liberals are super specific. But in this case, it's kind of like everyone decided we no longer do blackface, and Canadian liberals ain't said shit about it. If I'm wrong about that, feel free to send me the footage or the audio of a major Canadian pundit pushing this narrative. But it's a largely American narrative. Lastly, this is really bad timing for conservatives. I kind of said I feel like the Liberals or the NDP are going to come out with something on Scheer very soon. This was like Fast and the Furious in the first movie, where he hits the nitrous, and then Vin Diesel's like, driving along, and it's like, too soon, and then hits his nitrous and like across the finish line and wins. This came out too soon, way too early, and not big enough. If they were like, look, Trudeau's sleeping around, boom, that's big enough where you can do it early. This, I think they thought it was big enough. I just don't think it was. Yeah, now I'm going to move on to this week in stupid. So, Area 51, the raid came and went with, unfortunately, no exciting stories. The U.S. military has issued an apology after literally threatening people with bombings. They did that. They threatened that. But they were also threatening to invade a military base. The civilians were. So I think both the military and the civilians are all square when it comes to that. That's all I have for this week in Stupid. That's why I didn't throw a little break in there, because I want to keep this week short. I'm getting ready for Sober October next week, so I want to get right on to our final topic of Donald Trump right after this quick break. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast with your friends and family. Get them all to subscribe and come back each and every week. Tell them all about it, mention it at work, and make sure they know all about the incredible content available completely ad-free each and every Tuesday. As always, thank you for all your support, and feel free to reach out to me anytime using the contact page over at www.laughtolearnpodcast.com or on all social media, which of course can be found in the description for this episode on your podcast platform of choice. At this point in time, I'm going to address some audio issues I've been having. I've been having a lot of background noise and a lot of feedback, and to be perfectly honest with you, I cannot for the life of me figure it out right now. But I'm going to persevere through this episode, and I'm going to consult with my audio technician to figure out what in the hell I can do to fix it. So my apologies if you're hearing some static. It's also possible, because I listened to it a little bit boosted, so it's possible that you may not be getting anything, but if you are, I want to apologize for that now. And I promise you, I know it was there in my intro and outro last week, and I haven't been able to figure it out, so I need someone else to get in here. But I promise you, I'm going to do what I can to have it gone by next week, because if it's bothering me, I can only imagine what it is doing to you. So thank you for persevering with me once again, and I am terribly sorry, but we are going to sort it all out and hopefully be back on the correct track next week. Doofus Donald is at it again. A new election and a new allegation of requesting assistance from an outside nation. That rhymes. Only this time, he's openly admitted it, unlike with last time regarding Russia. Now, I'm just going to start it off with Trump's own words. The following is a combination of all of his answers he's given so far to the media over the past few days on the matter. I'll let you listen for yourself, and then we'll get into exactly what in the hell is going on.
Did you discuss Joe Biden, his son, or his family with the leader?
It doesn't matter what I discuss, but I will say this. Somebody ought to look into Joe Biden's statement because it was disgraceful.
The conversation I had was largely congratulatory, was largely corruption, all of the corruption taking place, was largely the fact that we don't want our people, like Vice President Biden and his son, creating to the corruption already in the Ukraine.
If you don't talk about corruption, why would you give money to a country that you think is corrupt? One of the reasons the new president got elected is he was going to stop corruption. So it's very important that on occasion you speak to somebody about corruption. Very important. There was no pressure put on them whatsoever. I put no pressure on them whatsoever. I could have. I think it would probably, possibly have been okay if I did.
No, Mr. President, it would not have been okay if you did. So, to clarify and perhaps catch you up on what's going on if you're as yet unaware. It was initially alleged that Joe Biden's son, actually his son's legal firm, was given a job in the Ukraine at a large energy company because of his father's political position, which would, of course, be illegal. Now, the U.S. was already investigating and had nearly finished, and the rumor is that Trump heard word that nothing was found and the contract between the two was likely legal and had nothing to do with Joe Biden or Joe Biden getting involved in it. Now, in retaliation, the president got on the phone with the new president of the Ukraine during a preset phone call, a phone meeting, and veered the conversation away from the recent election in the Ukraine, all the way to eventually threatening to withhold $100 million in pre-approved foreign aid from Congress. Again, allegedly. Unless the Ukraine agreed to investigate the allegations of corruption themselves, because so far the U.S. had investigated, but now he wants the Ukraine to investigate. And he's withholding the money until they come up with something. So it's really not good. And this was all brought to light by a whistleblower who has yet been unnamed, and they likely won't be named. But the crazy part of all of this is that when the individual legally brought this information forward to the overseer of the U.S. national security, my understanding is there's someone who actually holds a position that oversees every branch, and this individual can legally bring something they're concerned about to this person, and they can review it, and if they think that it is potentially dangerous, they can present it in a private meeting to Congress, where they would be given all of the information and make a decision on the way forward as a country, as they're supposed to do. However, this was blocked by Republicans in Congress because it was brought to them to be, discussed in a congressional hearing, or congressional meeting, rather. And they blocked it and then brought it to the executive office, which is the office of the president, where they then, the executive office, classified the information behind executive privilege, therefore blocking the information from being given to the House or anyone else in government. It suddenly became classified. For anyone who thinks he and his staff are unintelligent, you really didn't see that one coming, did you? As I always say, he's a doofus, but he's not a dumbass. Now, or at least the people that work for him aren't dumbasses. Now, there's an active back and forth going on for what should be done, because it is illegal to get another nation involved in a political campaign. And although they couldn't prove there was any quid pro quo, which is to say no money or thing of value exchanged between the USA and Russia last time, although of course you could debate the election result was something of value, we clearly have $100 million, which was, again, allegedly withheld until the information could be provided on Joe Biden from the Ukraine, which is absolutely an illegal offense if it happened. If you can prove he was going to withhold that money, it is absolutely illegal. Now, a few minutes before recording, Joe Biden spoke on the matter. I was going to play it. I actually have it downloaded and in the file here. But again, there's just audio issues, so I don't think I can cut it properly to make it sound good. But one thing that I want to say on it is he is in the middle of an election campaign. Trump kind of is, but not really, because he doesn't really have to campaign yet. So Biden basically comes forward and pushes impeachment, which is crazy, but it's very political right now. So I'm not really sure what to think about it. That's also why I don't really want to play Biden's response, because he basically says it's never happened before, and he's clearly pushing for impeachment towards the end. And I believe that's the first time we've ever heard him make a move in that direction since Trump became president. It's been the sort of thing that no one really wants to touch. That said, he also did fairly well to push the allegations on him and his son aside as simple political campaign attacks, which it doesn't appear that there's anything more to it. It seems like that's exactly what they are, but he sidesteps it very well and puts it all back on Trump, which is, he is quite the seasoned politician. He knows exactly what he's doing, and he did it very well. Now, from here, much like the Trudeau issue, it's hard to tell which way this one's going to go. But both parties are being drawn into their corners, and it's really, really hard to tell who will come out on top. But here's my quick 2 cents. First of all, Biden is still not the candidate Trump is running against. So it's still undecided, and he still has to beat out. As of today, there are 12 people who are going to be in the next Democratic debate. Tulsi Gabbard was just added tonight, which is pretty exciting. Now, that means that Joe Biden has to still beat out at least, as of today, 11 more people before he can run against Trump. Realistically, he has to beat Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders. But it is possible that someone else surges near the end, so he has not been decided yet. The really interesting thing is polls show that Trump should want to face Biden over Warren. So for him to be attacking Joe Biden early might actually not be the right choice. And I'd like to have this discussion in a few weeks from now when I sit down with some of my friends. We're going to have a political discussion again here on the podcast, but I'm really interested to see what some Republicans think about this, or some conservatives, rather. I shouldn't classify them as Republicans, but it's really interesting why he and the conservative group down in the U.S., the Republican Party, would be attacking Joe Biden now, because I would think they want to face Biden over Elizabeth Warren. Every single major poll shows Warren beating Biden. Now, I don't know if that would come to fruition should she get the nomination. However, every single poll shows that. So you do have to kind of take that seriously. The polls of Biden over Trump, they are the majority of polls showing Biden beating Trump, but by a much narrower margin than Warren. They show Elizabeth Warren sweeping the swing states in the Midwest. Now, I don't know if that would come to fruition, but by the knowledge we have right now, it's very strange that Trump and the conservatives would be attacking Joe Biden now before a candidate is selected. Because if Biden loses and Warren wins, and these polls do come true, then the whole Republican Party is going to be sitting there going, what the fuck? Like, literally, they might be killing themselves. So it's very interesting to see that. It shows, actually, that they have no faith in polls anymore, because back in the day, you would not have seen this. If the guy leading was supposed to lose to your guy afterwards, the guy leading in a primary was supposed to lose to you in a general election, you would not be attacking him. You would be like, good for you. Come on, Uncle Joe. I'll meet you out there on the battlefield. You'd be hyping him up, actually, is what they would be doing. Now, this also puts Trump in a real corner, because he's fucked himself. He straight up has admitted it twice now. He said that he did encourage the Ukraine to look into this, because he says something like, you heard it, this president is all against corruption, and I'm just telling him that there may be corruption within his borders, is basically what he's saying. But we all know what that means, and he's openly admitted it. So, like, with Russia, it was like, nope. The Mueller report came out, and it was like, well, maybe, but not enough. This is, like, right in your face. This is what I'm doing. I had a conversation with the president of the Ukraine, and I told him my political opponent might be fucking things up in your country, and you should look into it. That is a direct felony. If that, he's admitting a crime. It's crazy. And I honestly think he doesn't even get it. I really think he doesn't realize it. Doofus Donald, right? Now, liberals are, as of right now, the Democratic Party's together, actually, while I'm recording this, and they are investigating impeachment. And there was a tweet that came out as recently as 30 minutes ago. It may actually happen before you hear this. I'm kind of literally watching my phone to see if anything comes of it, because they are gathered in some private meeting with a bunch of lawyers to test out the waters of an impeachment process. So that's Nancy Pelosi, of course, who is head of the she's running the House right now for the DNC. And she has been like anti-impeachment literally until today. So it's quite crazy. Like, this is a big deal if he gets impeached. It's a very big deal. The problem, of course, is that impeachment historically favors the president if he isn't removed. And the Senate is Republican, which means it's unlikely they will vote to remove him. But who knows? Like, maybe there's evidence that we're unaware of, that they are now have been made aware of. And maybe the Senate will look at it and go, fuck, right? Like, at a certain point, you do have to vote him out, but it just depends what that evidence is, right? So it's really concerning, but this is a big deal. And lastly, I just want to say that Trump voters didn't care last time and likely won't this time. And the same is true for the Democrats, where they were all anti-Trump last time, and they're going to remain anti-Trump. So this doesn't actually move any voters, I don't think. The big issue here is impeachment. If they can prove that he said he will withhold $100 million unless you give me information on a political opponent, I mean, fuck, if they can do that, like, that's horrible if he's actually doing that. And if they can prove it, Donald Trump might actually go to jail. Like, he might be impeached and then charged criminally. And quite frankly, he should be. Like, you are not allowed to do that as president. Yeah, it's like, I don't even know what to say about it. It is absolutely crazy. My mind is still blown that he's come out twice on camera and said that he told them to look into Joe Biden. So now the real question really is, did he tell them he would withhold money? And if he did, then Donald Trump might not be the president by the time this election season is over. Thank you all for listening and sticking with it to the end. As always, I encourage you to take these conversations and discussions outside into the real world with your friends or your family, or with me over on Twitter, somewhere over on Instagram. You can hit me up using the contact page at www.laughtolearnpodcast.com. Again, please reach out to me if you want to have a conversation on one of these podcasts. I'm open to anyone. Just shoot me a message. Like I said, I have two people who have just randomly reached out to me that I'm trying to organize dates for into November now. So reach out, because like I'm just kind of building a schedule, and I loved doing them, and the numbers on them are really good. So I think people like them. I mean, I think that's what that means if your download numbers are good. So yeah, I really want to keep that going, and if you have anything to say, let me know, because I'll give you a platform to say it. Now, as always, this podcast is completely ad-free, and all that I ask is for you guys to share it with your friends and family, tell someone about it in person, and share it on social media, and hit the subscribe button. While you're listening right now, it's super easy. Just hit subscribe on whatever platform it is you're on. You can even set it to auto-download, so you don't have to worry about it. Every week, it'll automatically download. And you can do that on absolutely any podcasting app, because it's available everywhere. So thank you guys so much. Jump over to YouTube. I'm going to start actually a bit of a YouTube campaign, but more for marketing rather than to drive views on YouTube. So look for that soon, because it may be kind of cool. You can share hopefully some shorter videos, Joe Rogan Experience style, like 5 to 10 minute clips of my conversations. That's what I'm going to be working on this week and next. And yeah, tell your friends about me each and every week, because the more the merrier. The growth is real, and it is friggin' awesome to see. So thank you all so much. And I mean, come on, as always, keep on laughing and keep on learning.